They're, they're kind of beating around the bush and going, "Hey, I'm gonna fight the guy that WBC saying is next." No, why don't you fight the number one guy? Fuck sugar. If you're the champ and you can't beat this guy, then why the fuck are you the champ? And to me, that's kind of where it sucks, right? Because there's a lot of guys that wait 10 years and then they fight the guy when he's already, older. It was never going to be the same fight as it was when you were both young, you were both hungry, and you wanted to take each other's heads off.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the KO'd Convo podcast. Keenan O'Doherty coming at you, recording this on a Thursday. Switching over to the combat sports area for this episode. Super excited about this one. Got my man Rosendo Sanchez on the line with me, joining, obviously, via Riverside here. That's the platform we record on. But a little bit about Rosendo. I mean, he's a world-renowned striking coach, has trained some UFC Hall of Famers. He travels all around the world. He was just in Australia not too long ago, Mexico City, training one of the most up-and-coming fighters I've ever seen, in Emmanuel Rodriguez. Got his first win in the UFC in his UFC debut down in Mexico City. Also on the featured on the show with Daniel Cormier, ALF Global, which is basically like the Russian, the Ultimate Fighter, one of the craziest shows I think I've ever seen. You can watch it on YouTube, but everybody gets into it, that's for sure. He goes by Ro. I appreciate you for joining me, my man. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Let's get right into it. Your story is pretty interesting. Combat sports athlete yourself, big boxing guy. You now own your own gym, obviously up in Santa Rosa, Sanchez Boxing MMA, which is obviously, expanded into bigger and better things from what it used to be. Just kind of go back to your background in terms of, when did your first love of boxing and kind of combat sports really begin?
So my love of boxing came from my grandfather and my father. I started at a really young age, about 7.5 years old, started competing at 8 years old. And then around 10, 11 years old is when it all turned around for me. And I found a passion for the sport, love to compete, love to travel. I got to see that if you do good and you compete good, you get to travel and see different states, different things. As the sport, as me becoming a boxer, started traveling, started seeing the world, and just motivated me more to work hard, seeing how hard my parents worked to help me accomplish my goals, something they didn't have growing up. They just had to work hard and just kind of have a job where it was, I don't know if it was the love of their life for them. So for me, it's like them allowing me to do what I want to do, follow my dream. It's been an awesome journey.
Yeah. What was the overall dream from a competitive standpoint before you got into coaching?
So the dream was to become a world champion, of course, right? Make the Olympic team, become a world champion. But sometimes in life, you get dealt certain hands. And, when you're young, you don't understand that, right? As you grow, as you get older, you realize certain things. And sometimes we say to ourselves, now as I'm older, I say, hey, things happen for a reason. It's put me in situations where now I'm blessed. I was kind of miserable with myself when I retired from fighting, but then it was like, found the passion to coach, and then just everything just started snowballing into, training guys from nothing to something. And now it's just been an awesome journey becoming a coach, giving these kids feedback, not even just fighters, just young men and young women that are going through stuff in life, and giving them advice. Because sometimes some of these kids don't have the role models, the superstars around to say, hey, can I lean on you? Can I talk to you? Right. And I think what we're providing at the gym is having a good base of coaches. Now we have, I consider myself a world class coach, but also building coaches around me to have these kids come and have a conversation, whether it's drugs, sex, kids, mental health, all that stuff. And it just made me so much aware that I appreciate what I do, and I'm so passionate about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Is that kind of one of the most rewarding things about you from a coaching standpoint? Just being able to help these kids, navigate not only through their careers, but just through a life standpoint as well.
Yeah, it's like for me, it's I love that these kids can come to coach and say, "Hey, this was going on." I never thought I would ever see myself as giving somebody advice, and now that I give it back to these young men and young women and giving them advice on financial, whether it's you're having a hard time with school or getting bullied and stuff like that, going about that, figuring out with the parents, talking to the kids, talking to the parents, and not making them feel like they can't talk to nobody or they can't open up so that we can help them so they don't make a bad decision that they can either regret or they're gone, right? I don't want to speak on it, but I had about a year and a half ago, I had a young lady that committed suicide from my gym. And it really hit me close to home because I feel like as we're growing, I'm trying to always advocate to these kids, hey, come talk to me. Come, let's talk to somebody. Let's work on not making those mistakes. And like I said, sometimes you can't fix those things. And that's why I tell these kids, you got to be able to open up. I tell these kids always, these kids, whether you're bigger or a little kid or a big kid, I'm like, hey, you need a hug? No, no, they try to be like, too cool. I'll grab them, give them a hug. I mean, at times I'll give them a kiss on the cheek and they're like, whoa, what are you doing? Right? Because they're trying to be cool. Right? But I want these kids to know that we're there for them to help them. And again, not every kid's going to become a professional athlete, but I want them to be the best they can when they grow up and become young men and young women. Whether they the best at McDonald's, work being a manager, an employee, work hard. People notice that. If you don't work hard, people are going to notice that too. The harder you work, then you're going to become noticed and get paid more money. For me, like I tell kids, it's my passion is not about the money. It's about helping youth, helping my fighters become, and then all that comes after that, right? So just like I tell these kids, I want you to become the best person in yourself. Your parents might not have the opportunity to have a choice on what kind of job they have. So now I want you to be better than your parents and help them out by working hard, going to school, paying attention, being respectful, talking to your teachers. Like there's 32 kids in a class. If you don't talk to your teachers, they'll never know. So just let them, want them to know that they can open their mouth, talk to these teachers, and get guided through.
Yeah, yeah. Has has boxing and kind of combat sports in general always kind of been an avenue for kids to better their life in your mind?
So, like, I look at myself, right? Me growing up, I had boxing at a very young age. I have cousins and family and friends that I've seen in the streets and getting in trouble or either killed or in prison or whatever not. And boxing has kind of been the avenue for me where I could let off some steam. And it was never like, oh, I was going to make the Olympics or the pros, right? Because at first I was really young and I didn't really take it serious. But then as I was growing and seeing when I put the hard work, it was giving me the avenues to become a successful young man and not getting in trouble, is keeping me focused, having those role models again that pushed me, would wake me up at 5 o'clock in the morning at 8 years old, going to the JC running. I'll never forget those days. One of my coaches named Robert Ingram, that was still really good friends of mine. We still stay in contact. He comes by every once in a while and having that person, not that I had, I had my mom and my dad, but I had these people in my life that were placed there for the reasons that I am here now, and I want to be that same person for these up and coming kids.
Yeah. Does your kind of coaching philosophy change, when it comes to, kids that are starting out compared to UFC fighters or professional boxers? Is your kind of coaching coaching philosophy kind of change in that way?
A little bit, but I'm very strict. I'm an asshole when it comes to the training. That's my style of coaching through my coaches that I've had in my career. But it's just, showing these kids a tough love that sometimes these kids don't respect their parents, don't appreciate their parents. So then it's like they bring them to me and I said, look, I'm not a gym where you're going to just drop a kid off and I'm a babysitting them. I'm tough on them. But I also out right after practice. If I made a mistake, you can call me out on my mistake. I might not be right. I might not tell you I'm right there. You're right there. But then the following day, I'm like, yeah, I can come back and say, hey, you know what? I made the mistake. I apologize. I'm human. But with all these kids, like I said, I want to teach them to work hard. Don't quit. Don't quit on yourself. Believe in yourself. I don't care how hard the task is. You can always accomplish it if you put your mind to it. And so with my professionals, I mean, A lot of them, right? They're looking for some kids come from broken homes and whatever not. And you give them the love and the passion, but you also work hard. And like I tell them, I work just as hard as you, if not harder. And I want you to keep always working hard, maintaining that mindset that you got to work hard, and not because you got to one state of your life where you're like on the top. Well, we're not quite there until you win the title, and you got to stay hungry and work hard. And I'm going to push you as hard as I can, and I'm going to badmouth you. I'm going to push you. I'm going to do all those things, but that's only for you to understand that we want to get to that top.
Does it take some students, a longer time to kind of adapt to that coaching style than others?
Of course, it does, because some people come from like the small talk, being nice, being this and that, and then they're like, whoa, like you're complete opposite. And I'm like, I am. I'm really up forward. I don't bullshit. That's, I think, why me and DC get along so good, right? We've had this relationship going on 16, 17 years. He's a good guy. He's a good cop. I'm the bad cop, right? When we come to our academy, um, I tell people how it is. And I tell them, I said, there's that door. It's a revolving door. I can replace you with 5 other guys that really want to be here. It sucks. I don't want to be that guy. But if I'm not that guy, then people just start walking all over us. And for me as a coach, I love who I am. And again, my gym is not for everybody, but from what I see and what I'm doing, a lot of people are appreciating what we bring to Sonoma County, and that tough love that a lot of places don't have nowadays. They're too worried about, I'm going to get in trouble by whatever reason, right? I tell them, you sign that waiver. I said, my gym is not the average gym. Your kid's going to get pushed. He might get smacked around, but when he turns 18 and he graduates high school, he's going to come back and say, thank you for everything you've done for me. Because it worked for me. And I think a lot of these kids need that.
Yeah. DC, obviously, you mentioned DC being Daniel Cormier, UFC Hall of Famer, quite the media personality himself. But yeah, kind of let's kind of touch on that. You and DC, obviously, you, like you said, you've been together for so long. You were a striking coach, throughout pretty much his entire career in the UFC. What's it like, coaching him and then being a coach with him? Is he kind of the same guy or everything? Obviously not, not, getting in the ring with Brock Lesnar and pushing Brock Lesnar around. But is it a little bit different sides of DC in terms of coaching him and then coaching with him?
Two different aspects, right? Because when we're coaching them, I believe as a team, you got to have coaches that you trust, right? And they're going to put you in the right situations. And here's one thing, like I tell kids, if you don't have a coach that you trust, because those are your eyes outside the cage, and we're seeing things that are going to work, and you're not going to trust us in what we're telling you, it's not going to work. So for me, since we started training, he just kind of fell in love, and we both kind of got into the point where he trusted me, and he trusted, like we said, we had a great team. We had a great team of coaches that were giving him the right message, the right direction, and he fell in love and followed everything, and it all worked. I mean, sometimes, things happen. We take losses, but overall, I think it was a really good, core of coaches that he believed in and trusted, and went out there and did what he had to do to become the champ, the double champ, and then all this other stuff that came along with his career. Now becoming a commentator, even we goof around a lot, and at the end of the day, we're still, like I tell them, I said, you're my friend, I'm your coach, but also too, you got to respect me and push. We're going to push the envelope to become what you want to become. Now, as him being a coach, like I love, like we got several coaches at the academy now, but of course, Daniel's the head coach. When he's in town, he does a lot of traveling for commentating and whatever not. When he's not in town, it's either me or Bob Cook. I mean, it's Bob Cook, then Rosendo Sanchez, then everybody else down, from there to help with the team. But he respects us. As you could see from when his fighting career was at, he had a ton of coaches. Now he's only got the few, right? People have moved on to other things, but he's always kept the core group of the guys that were always there for him, supporting him, pushing him, making him become the best person who is, whether it's in the fighting game or in the world of commentating. And he brings a lot of that to his commentating job. And with his fighting game, all the smartness that he knows. I mean, I learned from him too now as a coach, right? Listening to him talk and breaking stuff down, and then I'm like, no, you're full of shit. I want it this way, and then he'll sit there and I'm like, okay, makes sense. And then, but it's always been a good, happy medium, where most of the time or 90% of the time he's right, when it comes to his coaching, and again is just learning from these guys that are so great. Bob Cook has been his longtime coach, slash manager slash friend, and my mentor has been such a great guy, such a great person to me in the sense of becoming the coach that I am, and now learning from DC some stuff, and always picking their brains and listening to them talk and learning from them and try to become as good, if not better,
Yeah. Bob can still bring it if he wants to, can he? He can still go if he
That
wants.
motherfucker, sorry.
No, you're good.
Yeah. So yeah, he's again, we were just at the academy yesterday and we talking and some of these kids like they just don't know, right? But yeah, Bob, don't mess with that guy because he'll still fuck you up. He knows how to punch, he knows how to choke your ass out, and knows how to wrestle. So my respect to the guy,
Yeah. When you were coaching DC, from a coach's view, was there one fight, that was your favorite of his, or like where you thought that was his best performance that you can remember?
The best fight for me was, it was what the hell's his name? I forget dropping into my name. I feel like for me, the best and easy fight was with the New York City, was with I'm dropping names. I'm sorry.
Please don't say Vulcan. Please don't say Vulcan.
No, definitely not Vulcan. It was big guy, brother. What's his name?
Derek Lewis.
Derek Lewis.
Lewis.
Why? Because it was an easy fight, right? But going into the fight, he got injured. We were gonna pull him out of the fight day of the fight because he sneezed and hurt his back, and like he couldn't move. And then
he pulled his back when he sneezed.
Off of sneezing, he pulled his back and he couldn't walk. He was walking like an old man. So then finally the UFC got a person go in there and massage him and all that, get him. And then honestly, after weigh-ins, it was like that same night we're like, we're going to pull him out of the fight. And I was like, and then the next morning, he's like, well, just wait till the morning. Wait in the morning, he got up and goes out there and does what he does. Like, I mean, he keeps amazing me as for him, he's later in his career, right? Fighting, going out there and going through those things and going out there and winning the fight at how he won it. I mean, it just as impresses me. He's had a lot of great fights, don't get me wrong, but that was the one that, like, to me, it's like he had no quit in him. He was waiting to the last minute. And in any fight, you don't ever go in there 100%, right? But I see a lot of these kids like, oh, I'm hurt. I'm taking the day off, or oh, this or that. And DC's always telling the sign, I can only give you the information. If you want to become a champ, you got to take this. You got to want to come. You got to want it. You got to come to practice. I don't care whether toe broken, hurt knee, whatever. You got to want it. And he's always lived by that. And to me, that's very impressive. A lot of people could say they've lived by that, but not like him. He's always been that guy.
I think I remember that whole back sneezing thing because he talked about it at the press conference and he was sitting next to Max Holloway and Holloway gave him a bunch of crap about it. And then DC's like, why you gotta sit me next to Holloway? This guy's gonna talk all this shit about me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
No, that was funny. I kind of want to switch gears to some of the newer guys because obviously, you just had a young stud, Emmanuel Rodriguez. Hey, he almost got knocked out though, Ro. Come on now. He almost got slept. A little bit of adversity there, my guy. He ended up pulling out, after the obviously I was watching it on the Paramount or whatever it was, and after he got rocked a little bit, he kind of settled back into the fight. I think he got a little too happy from a coaching. Obviously, Emmanuel, such an exciting prospect, even though he almost got knocked out. But is it kind of normal for kids to kind of get a little excited, especially in their UFC debut there?
Yes, and that's where the maturity level comes into, right? He only had 6 fights coming into that fight as a pro, so it was like back to what we're saying is trust the process, trust your coaches, trust the game plan, right? So you don't get put in a situation like that. I think he's learned a lot from that. I mean, he's still got a lot to learn. He's very young, very young, and he's very unexperienced, but he's experienced too because he's lived a lot, a long life for his age. Has had a lot of, he's competed a lot, but now, I got on his ass after the fight, be like, hey, this would have been it was kind of played out the same kind of way that we talked about, but just without him getting caught and almost getting knocked the fuck out, right? Um, our game plan was to go in there, punches, kicks, takedown, punches, kick, takedown, hold him down. And I didn't, honestly, from when he took the kid down, I thought he was going to be a little tougher than that, right? But once you got him down, the guy couldn't do nothing on the ground. So, we got lucky with, if I feel like he got rocked the second one, first punch, second one he was out, third one got woke up, then took him down to the ground, finished the last 3 minutes on the ground with ground and pound and elbows and everything else. There was a couple times the ref almost stopped it because we've been working on a lot on like when you're down on the ground, kind of covering his mouth and then elbows, cover his mouth, elbows. There's a couple times where I feel like he poked his eyes and the ref gave him the, hey, quit doing that or we're going to stand you up. And I don't know if he would have, at that point was recovered enough to finish the round off, right? So he finished the round on the ground, and then came back to the corner. I still feel like he was a little like, out and a little wary, tell him to calm down, relax. Same thing. We're telling him combination takedowns, but he was so confident. I thought at that point, the kid was gassed that he could finish him at any point. But being smart and not reckless. And I think a little bit of that was being reckless in the beginning of the first round, right? And getting caught. But, again, it's just the experience and just going out there and getting fights and working and pushing himself to become a better fighter.
Yeah. Was that kind of the game plan in terms of you knew that overhand right was going to be a big weapon for Emmanuel, or did you kind of, expect him to work the body a bit more and then go up top?
Well, like I said, we worked from body to head to body. Again, he wanted to, like in his mind, he wanted to rip his head off, and he wanted to do it in the first round. He wanted to make a statement to the UFC. He made a real statement, but he could have been a little more cautious about it, right? Again, it's just learning and getting better and trusting the coaches that what they're what we're telling him.
Yeah, kind of talk about that atmosphere too, because he was the first fight on the main card.
Second fight.
So second fight. Sorry, second fight on the main card. But he's from Mexico, fighting in Mexico City. He's from Ensenada, Baja California. But
yep.
Everyone was going nuts for him. It seemed like everybody knew who this kid was, and just kind of talk about walking out with him in for his UFC debut in front of basically his home crowd.
Well, like I tell everybody, just even from when we left the hotel to go into the arena, to get into the arena, it was, for me, I love watching these new kids go through the process of, and then also us, or me anyways, tell them, and just embrace it, deep breath, relax. It's just another fight. All this is just loud noise. You'll get to enjoy it after the win. And just watching them, like, just be a kid in a candy store was just an awesome experience for me, because I've seen it a few times, and it's just I love seeing these kids have these opportunities and become successful, and then just embrace it and keep growing and growing.
Yeah. Kind of going off of that, because I know you're Mexican descent as well. You look at the kind of rise of Mexican combat sports, whether it be boxing or MMA. Do you think it's in the best state it's ever been?
I think for Latin America or Latin fighters,
yes.
I think so. It's funny I say this. For the longest time in my career, I've always trained my brothers. You know what I'm saying? Black people. Not by choice. It's just been they've kind of fallen into my shoes, into my feet, right? So I love them. They're my brothers. I love talking shit to them, and we just have a great relationship with all of my fighters that I've had. This is my first actual Mexican fighter that I've ever had, and to have him and to be part of this show, and just, both my parents are Mexican, right? And having this at his debut, Mexico City, in front of a huge crowd, and a main card. Like, it was a surreal moment for me. It felt awesome. It felt great. Just the environment, the Latin culture, the people, like just, and then them being all for us, right? It wasn't like you were in a enemy territory. It was just so awesome, and just kind of like telling him, even as we're walking from the locker room to where we get to the point where, you're staging to getting ready to walk, like, hey, take a deep breath, embrace it all in, soak it all in, use that energy to your advantage, get into that walk. And then when his music goes on, he starts walking, said, just walk slow, embrace it, enjoy it, look at the crowd, and know why you're here and appreciate it, and go show the world why you belong to be here. And that to me was awesome. It was really
Yeah.
awesome.
I mean, it was just an insane spectacle to watch, and to see him, obviously, came by and saw him training, just see him, go from that atmosphere to something big, and just to be so, just so obviously, apart from the first round, just turned it to be so calm and collected. For I think he's only what, like 26, 20, 25?
26.
26. Yeah, where a lot of these fighters, you see their prime in, the 30s, and, DC fought till he was like 40 and stuff like that. And you've had other guys like, well, Khabib retired early, but regardless, I mean, it was an insane spectacle to watch. I mean, that division itself, I mean, it's pretty stacked, but nonetheless, he's definitely looks like he could certainly make an impact.
Yeah, I think he's going to make a big impact at that weight class. I think that, again, back to, him coming from nothing to now appreciating, the little money he's made, and believing and trusting in his coaches, and staying humble and being that same kid, because some kids can become a big name and then they forget where they come from, who they are, or forget people that have been there for them their entire careers, right? And I don't see that from him. It's funny I say, because I've been in Sonoma County my whole life, born and raised. I moved out of here 100 times, but I've always been back to Sonoma County. And he's one of those kids that he gravitated to me, and I gravitated to him when I met him at the Ultimate Fighter. And I just loved who he was. He was a hard worker, and I said, hey, when you get out of here, whether you win or not, I want you to come train with us. I think you got a big career in front of you. And he listened, and 2 weeks. It's funny because I told him from Ensenada to Vegas, from Vegas to Ensenada to back to Santa Rosa and Gilroy, and now we're working as a unit, as a team. And he's also putting Santa Rosa on the map. We've had fighters come out of here, and they leave and then they forget where they come from, right? And for me, he's a kid that. And always told him, I said, we're going to put Santa Rosa, Ensenada, and Gilroy on the map, because those are the three places that he resides, right? He resides in Santa Rosa, Gilroy, and Ensenada. Well, it's Gilroy, Santa Rosa, Ensenada, wherever when he's at. Right now, he's in Ensenada. He's actually going to get ready to go to Mexico City for another week or so. And then I'll say he'll be back in the gym about 2 weeks. Getting back, 2 weeks, trying to get another fight and get it moving. Because the goal is to fight one more time and then fight in the UFC.
So have talks already started with his next fight in terms of what he wants and who the UFC wants and stuff like that?
We're in talks with fights. We got something almost ready, close to sign. I'm excited about it. I think it's a great matchup, and I think it's going to be good. It's just, he's going to be everything's starting to fall into place, and they like him. He's a star in the making, and I'm excited to see where this takes us, and then all the kids behind him that are at the academy that are working to get to this point is now we're pushing hard. We got that kid Rodrigo that was the Ultimate Fighter show. He'll be fighting here probably in July because he got his orbital broke, but he's hopefully July he fights. We got another kid by Tommy will be fighting. Tommy Willis will be fighting here, I believe, in his debut in the UFC. He won Contender. Now he'll be fighting, I believe, mid-June. And then we got Jacoby that will be fighting in July. So we got some up and coming guys. We also are trying to get around 4 to 5 guys in the Contender Series this year. hopefully that we all get him in there and get him in the UFC and just build the roster and keep building and keep growing. There's going to be some loses, some losses, but you learn from those and get better.
Yeah, totally. And you mentioned the Ultimate Fighter because you've been on it a couple times now. With being a part of DC's team and stuff like that. But I gotta talk about this Russian Ultimate Fighter, man, because this is the most insane thing I've ever seen. How in the world did you and DC get roped into that? And especially now that DC almost quit the damn show because someone brought a damn knife, and I was like, "What is going on? How in the world did you and DC get roped into that one?"
When he asked me if I was down to go, I was like, fuck yeah, I'm all in. I love that shit, right? And then we're like, well, we're in talks, we're with money and this and that. Because I don't know if you know, Nick, I think Nick was the one that was supposed to do the show, but then that one kid, I forget his name, Alfie, I believe it was, he tried to choke him out, felt disrespected. He said, fuck you, I'm out of here, I'm not doing this shit.
Yeah, I got you.
So then they contacted DC, and then DC talked to me, and they're like, do you want to do this? And we thought it was an MMA fight, MMA fights, right? We get there, they said, no, it's going to be boxing with small gloves in the cage. So then I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. Like for me, I come from the boxing world, right? He brings a big team, right? He brought some, like, I don't know, we brought probably 1, 2, 3, like 8 people. We had Muay Thai coach, we had 2 jiu-jitsu guys, fighters. They all come with us. We had a good time, got to train a lot of these guys, had a great time. When we first get there, it's funny. DC's been, out of kind of that kind of life for a long time, right? So it's like him being a commentator, being more of a sophisticated, right? None of that street fight stuff. It kind of took him wrong. He's like, hey, I think we're gonna go home all. You're crazy, dude. I love this shit. This is the best shit in the world. But again, in all fairness, when knives come out, I mean that's a little more than what needed, right? Because you don't want to see nobody get killed or actually die from this, right? I know that this is how these guys become famous in Russia and become these big stars in Russia. So between Jones and DC talking to Alfie and saying, hey, this can't stop around. And he was literally didn't want to come back. And I said, I'm going to leave and I'll think about what I come. I said, dude, you're not leaving us here. And then you're going to think about what you're coming.
Yeah.
I said, you're fucking coming back. I don't want to hear it. Like, we'll get it right. And he was, to all fairness, it was like the first 4 days were the most wildest. Once everything settled in and was getting ready for the fights, then it kind of all calmed down. I mean, there's still a lot of wild shit going on, but not to that extreme. And I mean, it was crazy. The fights they brought a kid in because he was talking shit. He got beat up for an hour.
My God.
I was like, holy shit. His head was like a watermelon when they were done fighting.
Oh,
had to take him to the hospital. God. I mean, it was crazy. I loved it. I enjoyed it. Would I do it again? I probably would, but it's just you're always on the highs and the lows. When you were done from coaching or being at the house for the interviews and everything, you literally got home and was so exhausted, straight to bed. There was no like going to dinners, none of that, because it was just like the highs and the lows, with coaching, with watching these guys argue, with them fighting. The first couple episodes, it was cool, right? Because it was just the fighters, DC and John Jones. And then Alfie really, for some reason, really liked that I was talking a lot of shit. So he's like, you got to sit on the couch. You got to sit on the couch and you got to keep talking shit the way you're doing it. We like this stuff, right? And it was awesome. But then, but again, we're professionals and this was different to us. And I'm trying to teach these kids to become better fighters, but you only have such little time that you really can't. Became, a good relationship with a lot of the guys. I still stay in contact with them via, Instagram or text or whatever not.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them I don't even understand, but we're texting. So that's how we understand each other, right? But it's been, like I said, from the Ultimate Fighter to this Ultimate Fighter shows, it's been a great journey. Eye opener, get to learn a lot, meet more people, open, networking more, and trying to get, Santa Rosa put on the map even bigger.
Yeah. So for filming, because obviously, the episodes are now on YouTube. You can watch them as they come up. But how long were you there for filming wise for that show?
We were there for 3 weeks.
3 weeks. And the Ultimate Fighter USA, how long were you there for?
That one, the first one was 4 weeks. Second one was 3 weeks. So they
Okay.
crammed it all in 3 weeks, and then they
Wow.
break it down per episode. Yeah, we were like, even on the 3 week we're filming morning and evening, there was a lot of filming and getting everything, and then making sure that everything looked a little different, than just not the same because we were filming a lot of episodes. Like, it was on the morning and then the evening, and then just knocking it all out.
Did
And
you
then,
like?
of course, go ahead.
Sorry, did you like the season with Stipe better or the season with Chael better from your standpoint?
I think the one with Chael was probably better, because he's a shit talker. Stipe's, I like Stipe and all, but he wasn't a guy that was kind of giving pushing the buttons, and then I think we, even with the teams, I think we on both seasons we had great teams. I mean, I think we won both of them. And yeah, so actually we won one and lost one with the Chell, right? Because we lost the kid that won for Chell for the 125ers, and then the 170s we won. But yeah, I think it's been both of them are different in their own ways. We've got to learn a lot how to coach them up in the short little time, and hopefully these kids, some of them come with being in shape. We had a couple kids that weren't in shape that we really loved, and we were probably one of our top guys. But it was tough because you only had, I mean, technically 3 weeks to, well, not 3 weeks, maybe from when we started filming for what, 2 weeks later, you're fighting, you know? It was tough, and now it's like making sure that we make the right picks, the right adjustments. If you're too heavy, even though you're our top pick, we're not picking you because it's such a short window. Unless he's got some crazy ass, he's just a stud, then where they was take, But yeah, like I said, it was great. I mean, we had great coaching out there. It was good vibes, it is awesome, and just doing it just, I think it was great. I had a good time.
Well, although I would say I did enjoy the Chael season a bit better. Although there was something magical about seeing DC on ice playing hockey.
Me too, for sure.
And he won. And he won.
And he won.
I was the best.
How the fuck he pulled that, I don't know.
Oh my gosh. And DC the competitor. I mean you see him on the weigh-in show all the time to win all the challenges, but that was the best thing I've ever seen. So obviously, you've been all around the world and stuff like that. We all know like Vegas is quote unquote the fight capital of the world, but in your estimation, in your experiences, was there a certain like venue or country that you enjoyed or that kind of surprised you in terms of the fandom for combat sports that you've been to?
Yeah. So for me, I'm gonna go back, post USADA era. My favorite arenas was probably the MGM or Mandalay Bay. Those were like two really like intimate. I mean, as a fighter, if you know anything about fighting, you had the Mike Tysons, you had the Roberto Durans, those it wasn't a huge arena, but it was just perfect, and those are the arenas that I miss that they don't have anymore. Now they want to cram in 20,000 people in an arena, like T-Mobile, these bigger arenas, which is cool. I get it. But I think those probably my favorite was either Mandalay Bay or MGM. They were just a little smaller, but they're just so intimate. There was so much culture and so much of big world title fights of boxing. And then MMA came along, and now they have these big fights, and just being there and being part of it and being in the back, I never, when I was fighting, did I ever go into one of those locker rooms? No, but being there, watching the fight, now being in the locker room, walking in those arenas where they have all these photos of Muhammad Ali, Mike Tyson, and all these things. I'm like, damn, this is kind of cool. It was awesome. I love that.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite fight of all time, whether it be boxing or MMA that you look back on and you were like, oh my gosh, like this was the
Madrick Taylor and Julio Cesar Chavez.
Say that again.
Madrick Taylor, Julio Cesar Chavez.
Why?
Madrick Taylor was whooping his ass the whole fight, per se, right? Julio Cesar Chavez was if you see him after the fight, like he was in the hospital for a while because he had broken ribs, a broken jaw, broken cheekbone. He had a bunch. So even though he was winning the fight, Major Taylor was winning the fight, Julio Cesar Chavez was damaging his body. And I never thought that the fight was going to get stopped. I thought my superstar was getting beat. It's over. I'm upset. I'm heartbroken. And then that comes and he gets dropped, and the guy didn't respond. In all fairness, could the ref could have not continued it and him win? 100%. But in all fairness, he was hurt. He didn't know from left to right or right to left, right? They stopped the fight. I'm the happiest person in the world. I'm excited. I'm like, it was just like, it was a war. It was a war. And I just loved it. Another one too was Roberto Duran and Sugar Ray Leonard. Really good fight. I like, Tommy the Hitman Hearns versus Hagler. Those are fights that I remember that I just, there were wars. They weren't like, nowadays, a lot of these guys just want to hit and run, hit and run. They were in there, they went out there and they fought their asses off, and the best man won because they were just better that night. And
Yeah.
I have a lot of great fights that that I've watched over the years. I mean, there's so many, but I mean, that's one of the ones that I really like, from being down, 8 rounds to coming back and stopping the kid. I mean, one of my favorite fighters that's rest in peace now too, Dio Corrales. He fought Castillo. That was a war, right? He got dropped twice, come back, finish him off. One of my really good friends that we were, I mean, we were raised together in a sense in the boxing world. From us competing 4 times and then coming back and becoming teammates. Signing a contract with Top Rank together, moving to Arizona, living with him in Arizona for a couple of years, and then we kind of went our own ways and. Just watching him fight and, coming from, all the tough fights he's had and go to that one and just make it an incredible fight. Even to this day, people post, the other day I wrote, miss you, rest in peace, video that came out. One of my really good friends that, I miss, and he was such a great, person, he had his demons, right? And this is, I think, why things happen. I mean, such a good kid, a good guy, he was my teammate on the Olympic team or Olympic trials, all that stuff. And just, I've got to, be around a bunch of great guys, and that became world champions, or even just good people in life. And it's been an amazing journey.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Do you think I kind of think like in a way, and this is kind of my last one for you here, but kind of like boxing, all these like big quote unquote super fights, they're more of like a show, like the press conferences, and there's like no energy around the press conferences, and then you go to the fight, and it doesn't seem like there's any energy around the actual fight itself. Now, is it the location they're in? I don't know, but I don't know. It just seems like more of a show than an actual like fight,
So for me, I think a lot of it is, now, the top guys need to find the top guys. They're kind of beating around the bush and going, hey, I'm going to fight the guy that WBC saying is next, No, why don't you fight the number one guy? Fuck sugar. If you're the champ and you can't beat this guy, then why the fuck are you the champ? And to me, that's kind of where it sucks, right? Because there's a lot of guys that wait 10 years and then they fight the guy when he's already, older. It was never going to be the same fight as it was when you were both young, you were both hungry, and you want to take each other's heads off. Nowadays, it's just like a sparring match. They want to go there, hit, don't get hit, and then maybe I catch you to go and maybe I put you to sleep. But they're so cautious of not wanting to get hit, and I get it. It's a business. You got to make money. You got to stay relevant. You're undefeated. You're gonna make more money. You're gonna be there longer. But I mean, back in the day, all these world champions had 1 or 2 losses, but they were still fighting the best, and they'd make the best fights, and they'd have great fights, and people were drawn to them because they were really trying to knock each other out.
Yeah.
Even Floyd, even like an example, Sugar Ray Leonard. As much as for a long time I didn't like his craft, he still stayed in there and tried to knock you out. And then you get caught, and then I got to move. But you'd still make it a fight where people wanted to watch him either win or lose. Either, and we don't have that no more. We don't have that.
Although you could make an argument though that kind of Usyk is kind of that the like modern representation of that older breed where he'll fight all the top guys.
Usyk, and you got Teofimo. No, not Teofimo. what's the kid that's about Benavides? He's got that, right? But he needs to watch out with some of these guys because he likes to bang, but he doesn't want to sit. You got to pick and choose because you can get hurt, right? But yeah, those two guys. I want to go out there and put it on the line and make it a fight, so people are going to draw in to watch them fight.
Yeah, make the money, baby.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, hey, Ro, I know you're busy. You got a gym to run. Well, I can't say thank you enough for joining me today on the KO to Convo. And yeah, I just really appreciate it. Thanks so much for joining me here today, my man.
Hey, thank you for having me anytime. Always we could talk, chop it up. It's all good. Let me know.